Today we've got a great revenge story against a cheating girlfriend. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, I locked my travel buddy in the hostel for the whole day. When I was fresh out of college, I decided that I wanted to spend 2 years traveling to different countries and exploring. My parents supported me, but my boyfriend did not so much. I knew it was what I needed though. As a sheltered child, I needed to break loose. I just wanted to explore. I packed my stuff and traveled to a foreign country where I knew no one. I started to look for a place to stay, someplace temporary because I only wanted to stay for 2 months. Shortly after, an agent I had talked to called me to inform me that he'd found a place for me. It was a hostel for people who, like me, were traveling, and most of the people there were from English-speaking countries. It took all the strong will that I didn't even know I had to not run away when I saw the place for the first time. It was very chaotic. A large room with 2 bunk beds and clothes everywhere reminded me of the movies and documentaries I'd seen that centered stories about boarding schools in Switzerland. The idea of sleeping and waking up in the same room and 3 people freaked me out, but I encouraged myself to not give up. I had promised myself to give myself a different experience and I was going to see it through. I mean, in the future, I wanted that to be one of the stories I'd have to tell my children and maybe even grandchildren. I agreed to move into the hostel. The rent was cheap and it was like checking into a hotel, except that rent was collected every evening. The girls in my room all spoke English. 2 of the girls were from the same country and had a different accent, so they could barely understand me and I could barely understand them too. But the 3rd girl and I could perfectly understand each other. Unlike me, she wasn't just traveling to see the world and return home after years of traveling. She wanted to explore the country we went to so she could decide whether or not she wanted to live there. We got talking and I was happy. I thought I'd found a friend and it made sense to think that since we got along really well. Every day, all of us, including the boys who stayed in the same hostel but in different rooms, would get dressed, get on the tour bus that we had rented, and have a driver take us to important parts of the city. It was fun. I was enjoying my time in the country, and my new friend and I were becoming even friendlier. One evening, we spoke about our lives back home, and I told her that I had a boyfriend back home. He was the sweetest and wanted to marry and settle down immediately after we both graduated, but I just couldn't do it. I wanted to fly and he wanted to rest. It just wasn't for me. She asked if we still spoke, and I told her we did. We were still, in fact, in a relationship. We didn't officially break up when I left. We just agreed to do our best to make things work, and if it didn't, then that's okay too. She told me about a guy she was in love with. He was right there in the hostel with us, and I knew who he was when she mentioned him. He was the most handsome man in the hostel, and was probably the most handsome man I'd seen so far in that country. He was just really good looking, and I couldn't blame my friend for liking him at all, and I told her this, by the way. 2 days later, I was going to post a picture of myself and the new places we visited when I noticed that my friend and travel buddy had commented on my boyfriend's post. My boyfriend was not a social media person and barely even kept up with his account, so her comment stuck out. She was the only commenter even. She complimented his hair and he replied thanking her. I then checked how long they'd been friends and saw that she just sent him a follow request. Naturally, that didn't sit well with me. I did not understand why someone I had just met would seek out my boyfriend to send him a follow request and then start commenting on his pictures. I wanted to ask her. I really wanted to, but I also didn't want to make a big deal out of the whole thing. Also, I'd started to feel like I was making a big deal out of it, so I let it be. But I still thought about it often. What bothered me the most was that she didn't even mention it. She just never mentioned to me that she sent my man a follow request, or that they now followed each other on social media. Still, I decided to not bother myself too much about it. There was no way that she did that to hurt me. She probably just had a boundary issue. While all this was going on, I encouraged her to make a move on the guy she had a crush on. She was crazy about him, but could never walk up to him to say hello. This went on for a while until a girl in another room started moving to him, and they soon started sleeping together. Of course, it wasn't like they told us they were sleeping together or anything, but everyone could tell. That really hurt my friend, but we both decided to stop bothering about it. We even decided to stop talking to him, but that didn't work. My friend was obsessed. I guess the major reason I was never really bothered about my friend sending my man a follow request was because I just knew that she could never be interested in him. She was already completely obsessed with the guy in our hostel. Anyway, shortly after my friend's crush and the other girl started their romance, she was offered a big job in her city and had to leave. Just as quickly as it started, the romance died. The girl left, and my friend started to hope that she could be with him again. She was a shy person, so it was hard to walk up to him to start a conversation, and I didn't want to do that for her. I knew how good I was at getting people hooked on my conversations, so I didn't want the guy to be interested in me instead of my friend. Keep in mind that while all this happened, my boyfriend and I decided to part ways. He'd met someone back home and was curious about her and what their relationship could be. I agreed with his reason for wanting to end things, and we both agreed to do what we liked and see if we could get back together when I returned home. One day, he sent a text asking how life was treating me, and I told him that I'd been having fun and told him I made new friends too. I then sent a picture of myself and my friend to him. He was shocked and asked if he could call me. I couldn't take a call at the time, so I just told him to send a long text and that I'd read it later. He sent a text telling me that my friend had sent him a follow request, told him that I'd met someone here and that we were crazy about each other. She even texted him many times after to check on him and make sure he was fine. When I read his text, I remembered how my boyfriend would constantly ask me if I'd met someone else. I asked if that was why he lied about meeting someone else, but he insisted that that wasn't why. He'd really met someone else, and he knew that even if I hadn't met someone, I would in no time. My boyfriend may have denied it, but I wasn't stupid. I was certain that it was one of the reasons he decided to end our relationship. I'm not a confrontational person, so I couldn't walk up to my friend and express myself, but I am a vengeful person, and one thing I knew just how to do was plan a good revenge. I continued being friends with her and acted like everything was okay. We were all going to travel on the tour bus outside the city, and since it was a long journey, I told her that it would be a good idea to arrange to sit with him on the bus, and to make that easier, we went to the guy he usually sat with and told him that one of us wanted to sit with his friend and asked if we could swap seats. He agreed and we squealed in delight. On that day, I got up very early and got ready. My friend was always late, but I'd always wait for her. The other two girls never waited though, they always left. Usually, we were the last people to leave the room and would always lock the door. As usual, my roommate was struggling to get ready and the other girls had left and were already on the bus. I was ready and all dressed, but I pretended to wait for her. When I'd made sure that everyone else had left their rooms, I got out of the room and shut the door. My friend thought I was playing some sort of prank and laughed. When she heard me turning the lock, she laughed and told me not to be silly. She was confident that I was playing a prank because even when I walked away, she didn't knock or try to get out. I got on the bus and exchanged eye contact with the guy we'd spoken to about exchanging seats, and he stood immediately and let me sit beside my friend's crush. As I said previously, I knew just how to carry a conversation. I knew how to flirt and the right things to say to make a guy go crazy. I worked my magic and got a meeting out of my palm the entire trip. At the end of that trip, we were already hot on each other. When we returned, it was really late. My friend had gotten help, the door was broken to let her out, but by then we'd gone very far and weren't even in the city again. She started to cry when we all returned and told the governor that I locked her in. I lied that I didn't even know that she was in the room, and that since we argued the day before, I thought she was seated with our other roommates at the back of the bus. Anyway, when she found out that I'd taken her crush, she almost tore herself to pieces. She went wild and started to accuse me publicly, and everyone just thought she was crazy. It went on for a while until her family were contacted and they made her return home. It wasn't until I left that country that I sent her a text telling her why I did what I did. The guy she had a crush on and I dated for a whole 2 years. We had lots of fun traveling together before we eventually broke up. I was gonna say, is this gonna turn into one of those, this is how I met your mother stories, this is our origin story and we went on to have a whole bunch of kids and this lovely, well-traveled family, but at the same time, a relationship that was born solely out of spite and revenge. I don't know how well the chances of long-term success are really going to be. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of revenge, it would be amazing if you left a like or left a review if you're listening to my podcast. That said, our next story is A Past That Was Not Buried. I'm a 29-year-old female who didn't find love in her mid-20s. Not that everything in my life was centered around getting hitched, but when you're 29 and rich and independent, occasionally you'd want someone to cuddle you and maybe someone to spoil you if they wanted. Meanwhile, I had an excellent work buddy who eventually became my best friend with time. She was a 30-year-old female who understood me so much. Let's call her B. Just like me, she was single, and as much as I didn't like to believe it, she, on the other hand, was desperate. I could see it in the way she tried to go after every man who said something as short as, "hello," and because of that, she was often taken advantage of. One time, we attended a colleague's wedding, and it is safe to say that we had the time of our lives during that wedding. We shared a table with a random guy, let's call him R, who spent half the time at the wedding locking eyes with me. Or should I say, we were locking eyes at each other. He tried his best to strike up light conversations with my friend and me, but I could see that my friend was somehow attracted to this man due to how much he beamed with smiles. After the wedding, he tried to get in touch with B and me, and I can remember how much I tried to pull away because I was 29 and didn't want a triangle. But much to my surprise, R kept trying to get close to me, and he was also trying hard to get my attention. On the other hand, I was trying to pull away because it was obvious my friend was very interested in R. To be honest, I found R equally appealing, but I was also ready to allow B to have him if she wanted him so much. Along the line, it became so noticeable that R was coming for me no matter how hard I tried to pull away. For instance, he would intentionally want to be left alone with me if he came to visit B and I. Or he would try to get on a date with me alone on some occasions. He was giving me all the hints I needed, and I was deliberately feigning oblivion because I didn't want a triangle. At some point, B and I finally saw the need to talk about the situation and how to handle it. Fortunately, B was indifferent about R's interest in me. At least, that was what she said. She told me I shouldn't look back if I wanted R as well. Well, to be honest, I could sense all the sincerity in B's voice, and it was so soothing to finally know that I could have my dream man without losing my sister in the process. R asked me to be his girl officially, and I chuckled a bit when I told him he had to give me some time to be sure I wanted something serious with him. I knew what I was doing, or would you have expected me to jump into his arms like a hungry princess? After some time, we had something beautiful going on for both of us. And it was the most beautiful time for me. R was a thoughtful fellow who was so intentional about me. He would do the most random things in the sweetest ways possible, just so he could make me smile hard. I remember the time we had our first kiss. It was in February and he'd spent time planning a getaway with me. He loved to acknowledge Valentine's Day, and he had planned this trip, which got me gobsmacked. That morning, he had called me to pack my bags and get ready to spend my weekend away from the States. He got us tickets to Paris, the city of love, to have the time of our lives. It was an unforgettable experience in our relationship. Meanwhile, my friend B also had something good going on for her. She had met this guy who was giving her all the love and attention in the world, and she told me he was everything she had dreamed of. So it was like a win-win situation for both of us. I was genuinely happy that my friend had finally gotten the man of her dreams, except that I didn't know that she would never get over her obsession with R. For her, R was that guy, even when she pretended to have fallen in love with another guy. On the other hand, I was very ignorant and naive. In my naivety, I had planned a date for 4 people, B and her boo and R and me. I had put so much thought into planning that date because I wanted us to have sweet memories to look back on. But right in the middle of the date, I was beyond shocked to discover that B was trying so hard to have alone time with my man. She kept trying to get in the way of our conversations and was always eager to jump into any talk that revolved around R. I didn't know what was more embarrassing, that she was trying to disrespect her relationship or that she cared less if she painted the wrong picture of herself. To be honest, I couldn't wrap my head around it. Still, I managed to put everything behind me after the date, as if none of those moments ever happened. It wasn't long before it became apparent that something was going on. It was worst when I started to notice a form of withdrawal from R. It started with subtle withdrawals from R, lots of excuses not to answer calls, and occasional yells that made me wonder where the sweet man I met was. He would come late to our date nights, or he wouldn't come at all. It felt like he started complaining at any slight opportunity he got. This minute he wasn't pleased with this, and another minute he would be nagging about the silliest thing ever. One time, we finally got on a date after a while, and I couldn't explain the distance in his eyes. It was so bad that he got so carried away with his phone while I was in front of him, I remember that we'd gone on that date so that we would be able to sort things out between us, but it turned out that it was the wrong timing for him. When I could no longer handle it, I decided to confide in my friend B and trust B to come off as sympathetic and caring. She was all over the place, trying her best to make me feel better, and truly, I felt a deep relief when I opened up to her about my relationship. She was so concerned that I wondered if she'd been waiting for me to confide in her. Surprisingly, after those episodes, I noticed that my friend had grown distant from me in no time. She suddenly grew from the girl who was all concerned about my plight to the one who cared less. She also began to avoid me. I checked on her at different times, but she avoided me so much. I was just there in the middle, wondering why I was losing my relationship and how I went from having a friend to being without one. One day, when I was tired of being in the dark regarding my status with R, I decided to check on him at home. But as usual, he wasn't home, and no one in his house could tell me where he was. He wouldn't answer his calls, nor would he reply to his texts. At that point, I knew I was done with him. No one should be allowed to treat a fully grown woman like me as an option. Fortunately for me, I got all the answers I'd been looking for in a glimpse. And trust me, the answer was not part of the options I had checked. Our mutual friend sent me a photo that showed my friend B was pregnant. I quickly attributed it to the reason why she tried to avoid me on different occasions. However, this friend wasn't done. He went ahead to send me a second picture, and voila, it was R, the man I had called the man of my heart, who held my friend closely, looking at her affectionately. Well, I didn't see those pictures as evidence to believe R had left me for B. There was only one way to find out the truth, which was to confront them. I dedicated 2 days to getting that done because I made up my mind to find out how long they'd been playing with me and why. Fortunately, I got through to R at end of work, and the first thing I noticed was how he tried to avoid my eyes. Worst of all, he was trying to get into his car, pretending not to have seen me. How ridiculous! I moved close to him before he could get away, and we were both locked in a world of silence for a few seconds. When I found my voice, I asked him why he didn't give himself the honor of ending things honorably like a real man should. By then, I'd gotten very angry. Before I could say more, he caught me short. With fury in his eyes, he said, and I quote, "Before you condemn me further, you are not a saint either. You were busy warming different beds and pretending you were a cool woman. While I was devising how to make you happy, you were busy betraying me." I looked at him a few seconds and I let out a tear or two. I hated that I was that vulnerable, but I couldn't imagine a fully grown man accusing me wrongly with so much confidence and pride. I asked him why he didn't confront me because the last time I checked, he told me I was his favorite person. What happened to all we shared? Then he gave me the shock of my life when he told me that B told him all he needed to know. She went as far as showing him a sex tape of me that had been wrongly recorded and shared in the past. B took my past and showed it all to R. Everything I tried to bury and heal from was right in front of me again. The lady I called my friend had lied that I was sleeping around and went ahead to show him false evidence to convince him. My legs began to shake furiously, with so much pain in my heart. I asked him if that was the reason why he left me for B, and to my utmost surprise, he didn't refute the claim. "So, you got my friend pregnant because you were shown that I was sleeping around?" I asked him, and his silence was the confirmation I needed. If he decided to believe the lies told to him, then I had no reason to help him see the truth. I wasn't the type of lady who would go so petty, but for my friend B, I promised to go lower. I decided to interrupt B's newfound paradise with a little chaos. Was that not what she did in my paradise as well? When I was finally able to have a conversation with B, I only had a few words for her. All I wanted to do was go back to R to tell him that she lied and reveal the truth that she intentionally hoarded. Otherwise, she knew what was at stake. Her nudes, her secret escapades, especially when she got down with different men every day for the whole month because she claimed she was depressed. I wanted to find out what R would do if I exposed her secrets to him. Well, I wasn't surprised when R came to apologize to me. Unfortunately, R could have neither me nor B, and neither I nor B could have R, just as it should be. Well, as much as OP said, "I don't want a triangle, I didn't want a triangle, I never wanted a triangle," it sadly ended up in a pretty clear triangle. Our next story is, girlfriend cheats on me with rich guy, so I stole her phone. I'm not a fan of dating. I like to stay away from the modern dating scene because social media, while doing a lot for humanity, has also caused some unforeseen problems like showing every man and woman that you aren't enough, and that whatever you do can and will be surpassed by the next guy. This has made people set unrealistic dating standards that have only made people feel more uncomfortable and insecure about themselves. I, 23-year-old male, am one of these victims. After my previous relationship, before this one, ended 4 years ago, I decided to throw myself into work. The reason why that my ex left me, of course, was because I didn't have enough money to meet her standards. And once someone that could do it better came around, she left me without blinking. This dug into one of my long-lasting fears of never being enough for anybody, and it bred fear of abandonment and insecurities. As I said, this made me stay away from the opposite sex for a long time, and I started to build something for myself. I had a best friend, Jake, 21-year-old male. Jake, unlike me, was a serial dater. He was never interested in anything serious, and somehow he had a lot of girls in his DMs. Granted, he was a pretty face, but it amazed me sometimes how people could form relationships without being emotionally invested. I mean, this guy had a different girl for every day of the week, and sometimes I used to get jealous of him. It took me a long time to accept that we were very different people and that I could never be like him. Anyway, after 4 years of trying to find myself, I finally left the dead broke stage and got into the comfortable enough to be independent stage. I didn't need to rely on anyone to pay my bills, and even though I couldn't afford any luxuries, I was okay. I don't know if you've heard this saying that goes, when you solve a problem in your life, your brain finds a way to make one for you. It was very true. I didn't have to worry about my bills and stuff anymore, and so I started to crave companionship. I never felt lonely in all those 4 years of working, but after I completed that level of my life, I started to. It got bad to the extent that I sought Jake for help, and he decided to take me out to a bar to hit on girls. As you'd expect, that did not go very well. Eventually, I gave up and accepted that I'd probably be alone for the rest of my life. Jake told me not to get so dramatic and said it was because I didn't have any riz. He said I had to talk to someone about it. And that was when he gave me Riley's, 19-year-old female, number. Riley was one of his friends, and he said that she could show me the right way to talk to women, as she's a woman herself. I didn't want to text her initially because I didn't want to sound like a loser, but eventually I became desperate enough to text her. She replied almost instantly, and we started to text. Surprisingly, I discovered that we had the same interests. She loved fiction books, and she'd read almost all the books I had. We had the same taste in music and art, and even our sense of humor was similar. She got my jokes, and it was really weird because that never happened before. Other girls usually think I'm some weird guy with a twisted sense of humor, and even I started to believe it myself. I'd never been an avid user of social media. I got bored with texting easily, but that day, I stayed up until 2 a.m. texting her. Riley was a very interesting person, and I could only blame Jake for not introducing us sooner. From the first day we texted, I started to like her, but she was a great friend. I didn't want to ruin that. At first, our conversations were usually one-sided. I used to be the one that opened up and told her my struggles, but after a while, she started to talk to me about hers. She got out of a relationship 6 months prior to meeting me, and she hasn't really gotten over that. But me talking to her every day was starting to make her feel happier than she had been in a while. Within a few months of talking, I started to notice that our relationship had evolved from purely platonic. Riley was doing things she had never done before, like FaceTime when she was getting ready for class, asking my opinion on dresses, and calling me intimate names. I could tell that she was as into me as I was into her, so I asked her out. She promptly agreed and we started to go out together. Shortly after that, I asked her to be my girlfriend and we started dating. Riley and I were perfect for each other. At least that was what I thought at the time. Of course, we had some opposing personality traits, like the fact that I was an introvert and I loved to stay indoors and never go anywhere, while she loved to attend parties and go clubbing with friends. Of course, we couldn't be 100% the same, so I accepted that. We also had opposing views about topics like modern-day feminism and all that, but it didn't matter to me at the time. I was finally with someone who liked me as much as I liked her. You'd think Jake would be in support of our relationship. On the contrary, he thought we should be nothing more than friends. He called my attention to the types of guys she dated. Most of them were toxic bad boys who never treated her right. That's what she was used to, and no matter what, she's going to project those experiences into her present relationships. I, on the other hand, believed that she had taken enough time away from relationships to truly heal from everything she went through in the past. 6 months was a long time. All my excuses sounded right at the time, and I actively ignored all the red flags I got from our talking stage. The first few months of our relationship were the best time of my life. We talked every day, even though we couldn't see each other every time. But then as the months went by, the energy started to drop. It's mostly on her end though. I tried to keep the spark going, but she was always busy. It was either school, work, or family, and she barely had any time for me. I complained about this, and it led to our first fight. She told me straight out that if I couldn't adapt to the fact that she was busy, we couldn't work. She went on to say that there was no way the initial energy was going to last forever and that I had to work with what we had. The only problem with this statement was that she was the only one losing steam, not me. But that wasn't all. Over the course of another few months, the relationship started to get transactional. She started to demand more and more. She always wanted the latest things, and she didn't care about my financial standings. Whenever I refused to get her something, I could feel her pull away from me. Sometimes she'd give me one-word replies, and other times she wouldn't even text back. For the longest time, I thought this was all in my head and that I had an issue with codependency, but it wasn't. She was getting bored of me, so she was pulling away. I brought this up sometimes, as carefully as I could to not upset her, but every time I did, she assured me that nothing was going on and that she loved me. Everything fell apart one day when she came over to visit. She had just gotten the latest iPhone, which she said her uncle got her. We were watching a movie while she was on her phone texting. No matter how many times I tried to get her to watch the movie, she wouldn't drop the phone. Eventually, she slept off with her phone still unlocked. She received a notification and I picked up the phone to lock it, but one of the texts caught my eye. I read through and realized that the person she'd been calling her uncle wasn't actually her uncle. She'd been lying to me for a long time. The person was a guy she met after we started dating. According to the chat, he was some kind of crypto investor and he was rich. Whenever I couldn't get her something, she went to him and he got it for her. But the catch was that she usually went over to his place during the weekends. All the times she'd been telling me that she was with family, or that her friends invited her to a party, she was lying. She was hooking up with the rich guy, sending him inappropriate photos, and talking dirty with him. I wasn't shocked. I mean, yeah, I was hurt and disappointed, but I've always kind of known that something like this could be happening. You might delude yourself into trusting someone, but eventually, their actions will start to show you the kind of person they truly are, and by that time, you won't be able to deny it anymore. I remember taking a long walk that night after reading her texts. I hadn't felt that much pain ever before. 1, because I had been cheated on before with a richer guy, and 2, because Riley knew all about it. And she still did the same thing to me. I couldn't even call Jake because he turned out to be right. I went back home and woke her up. Then I told her that I knew about the texts. Can you believe she got mad at me for going through her phone and wanted to turn it into some kind of argument? I didn't have the emotional strength needed to argue with her, so I ended the relationship right there. She left my apartment without even as much as an apology. I can't tell you how distraught I was that day. I didn't leave my house for the entire week. I had insomnia plus a lack of appetite. When I wouldn't pick up Jake's calls, he came over to check up on me. I told him everything. He was the type to say I told you so, and that's exactly what he did. But after rubbing it in, he decided that we weren't going to let Riley get away with it. Besides, he was the one who introduced her to me in the first place, so he felt responsible for helping me get revenge. That same day, we spent hours scheming on how to get her to pay for what she'd done. Jake eventually came up with an idea. It was a terrible one, but what she did to me was also terrible. We were going to fake a robbery and take her phone to post her inappropriate photos on all her social media. Jake got a toy gun from a supermarket and spray painted it black. He also got us ski masks. A few days later, we went over to stake out her house and wait until she got back from school. She usually took a lonely shortcut, so that's where we waited. She got back at around 8 p.m. and was on her phone while she walked through the alleyway. She didn't see us approach her. I remember the look of terror in her eyes when Jake pointed the toy gun at her. She surrendered her phone immediately, and we took her wallet to make it seem like it was an actual robbery. Then we asked her for the password, which she surrendered too. We let her go and then went through her hidden gallery, which contained all of her inappropriate photos and videos, basically everything she sent to the other guy. We took it out and posted it on her Snapchat, Twitter, and WhatsApp. After that, we broke the phone and trashed it. I'm not even going to lie. I know what we did was wrong, but I was angry at the time, and it sounded like a really good idea at the moment, but I regretted it later. I couldn't apologize to her without risking jail time, so I kept my mouth shut. So I know OP's heart had been utterly shattered, but can we all agree that OP is an absolute huge piece of bleep bleep bleepity bleep for doing this? Even if this person seemed like the scum of the earth to them? Either way, that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy revenge story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.